At some point in the not too distant future, nobody knows exactly when, someone will build a machine that is better than humans at every cognitive task that humans can do. Not better at chess, not better at generating images or writing emails, better at everything. Science, engineering, medicine, strategy, creativity, problem solving, all of it, simultaneously. And getting better still. When that happens, if that happens, it will be the most significant event in the history of our species. Not one of the most significant, more important than fire, more important than agriculture, more important than the Industrial Revolution, or the internet or nuclear weapons, because every other invention in human history was made by human intelligence. This one makes human intelligence optional. That is what artificial general intelligence is. And that is what this video is about. First, let's be precise about what we're talking about, because the conversation gets confused very quickly when people use the word AI to mean everything from a spam filter to a hypothetical superintelligence. The AI that exists today, the large language models, the image generators, the coding assistants, is genuinely impressive. It can do things that seemed impossible 10 years ago. It is already changing how people work, create, and communicate, but it is not AGI. What we have today is narrow AI, extraordinarily capable within specific domains, but fundamentally limited. It cannot set its own goals. It cannot decide what problem to work on next. It does not understand the world the way you understand the world. It has no stake in any outcome. AGI is different in kind, not just degree. AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, refers to a system that can perform any intellectual task that a human being can perform, not a specific task, any task, with the flexibility, adaptability, and judgment that human intelligence applies across domains. And beyond AGI lies something even more significant. Artificial superintelligence, a system that doesn't just match human intelligence but vastly exceeds it, in the same way that a human being vastly exceeds the cognitive capacity of a mouse. We do not have AGI. We may be closer than most people realize, or we may be further away than the most optimistic voices in Silicon Valley suggest. The honest answer is that nobody knows, including the people building it. But the question of what happens when we get there is one we need to be thinking about now, before it arrives. Let's think about what AGI would actually change. Start with science. Human scientific progress is limited by human cognitive capacity. We can only hold so many variables in mind simultaneously. We can only read so many papers. We can only run so many experiments. We make mistakes, we have biases, we get tired, we die before our work is finished. An AGI system working on cancer research would not have these limitations. It could read every paper ever published on oncology. It could simultaneously model every known cancer pathway. It could design and evaluate experiments at a speed and scale that no human team could approach. It could make connections across disciplines that human researchers would never make, because no human researcher has the bandwidth to be simultaneously expert in oncology, genetics, biochemistry, immunology, and computational biology at the same time. This is not speculation. This is the straightforward application of what general intelligence at greater than human scale would actually do to scientific research. The same logic applies to drug discovery, to materials science, to climate modelling, to every domain where human cognitive limitations are currently the bottleneck. An AGI applied seriously to any of these problems would likely produce more progress in a year than humanity has managed in decades. That is the optimistic case, and it is genuinely extraordinary. Now the other case. Intelligence is the most powerful force in the known universe. It is what allowed a physically unremarkable primate to become the dominant species on a planet full of creatures that are larger, stronger, faster, and more numerous. Intelligence allowed us to build weapons that could end civilization, to reshape ecosystems, to alter the chemistry of the atmosphere, to split the atom. We did all of that with human-level intelligence, fallible, slow, constrained by biology. Now imagine an intelligence that exceeds ours by the same margin that ours exceeds a chimpanzee's. The question that serious AI researchers call the alignment problem is this: How do we ensure that a system vastly more intelligent than us pursues goals that are actually good for us? And here is why this is harder than it sounds. You do not need a system to be malicious for it to be dangerous. You need it to have goals that are even slightly misaligned with human well-being, and to be intelligent enough to pursue those goals effectively, and the consequences could be catastrophic. An AGI optimizing for a goal that sounds reasonable, reduce carbon emissions, maximize economic output, eliminate disease, might pursue that goal in ways that are technically correct and humanly disastrous. Because it is not human. It does not share our values instinctively. It does not have the accumulated weight of lived experience that tells us some things matter more than they appear to on a spreadsheet. The alignment problem is not solved. It may be the most important unsolved problem in computer science, and we are building increasingly capable systems without having solved it. There is another version of this concern that gets less attention but deserves more. Even a perfectly aligned AGI, one that genuinely wants what we want, raises profound questions about power. Who controls it? If a single company or a single government develops AGI first and maintains exclusive access to it, they have an advantage over every other actor on the planet that makes every previous power asymmetry in human history look trivial. An AGI that can outthink every strategist, outdesign every engineer, outmaneuver every diplomat, and outpace every competitor simultaneously is not just a technological advantage. It is something closer to omnipotence in the domain of human affairs. The race to develop AGI is already underway. The major AI labs are explicit about their goals. Governments are beginning to pay serious attention, and the question of who gets there first and what they do with it is one of the defining geopolitical questions of the next decade. So what should we make of all this? I want to be honest about the uncertainty here. The timelines for AGI are genuinely contested. Some serious researchers believe we are decades away. Others, including some of the people most directly involved in building these systems, believe we are years away. The honest position is that nobody knows, and the track record of AI timeline predictions is not encouraging in either direction. Both the optimists and the pessimists have been wrong repeatedly. What we can say with confidence is this: the systems being built today are more capable than the systems built 5 years ago by a margin that would have seemed impossible 5 years ago. The trajectory is real even if the destination is uncertain, and the questions that AGI raises about power, about safety, about what we value and who gets to decide are not questions we can afford to start thinking about after it arrives. Because if the optimists are right about the timeline, we may have less time to think about it than we assume. The last invention is coming. The only question is whether we are ready for it. In my next video, I want to talk about something that sits right at the intersection of technology and what it means to be human. We can already edit the human genome. We will soon be able to do it cheaply, reliably, and in ways that pass to every generation that follows. The science is extraordinary. The ethical questions are almost entirely unresolved, and the countries racing hardest to get there are not the ones most concerned with ethics. If this gave you something to think about, hit like. It helps more people find these ideas. Subscribe for a new video every week. The future isn't going to wait, neither should we.